Good morning, Michelle Arnott here at Diamond Rock Glass Studio. Thank you so much for joining me. In today's video, we will be making the 3D glass star. So this is so fun to make and so easy to make. So we're going to be using this jig here to make the star. So this makes one of the 5 points. And so if you make this 5 times each, you will have a star that looks something like this. So if you make 2 of these, you will have something that looks like this. So this is putting the 2 halves together. So here's a full 3D glass star. These are so beautiful. I'm going to show you later how you can actually put fairy lights in this. You could use this for a tree topper. So, but if you don't want to put the 2 halves together, just one side of the star is very beautiful. As you can see in the intro, I showed you how you can hang these in the window and they look really pretty with the sun shining through them. You can spin these from a battery powered spinner, and these are not to be confused with a spinner. So I did a 3D video on 3D spinners about 2 years ago to date. So feel free to go back and see my spinner video. But these can spin if you connect them to a battery powered spinner. So that's what I did in the preview of this video. So you can see them spinning and that looks really nice. You can also put fairy lights behind these and hang them on the wall. So I brought some home last night and I hung some on the wall, different sizes. So I'm going to show you a picture of what that looks like. So as you can see, they look really nice hanging on the wall with fairy lights. So, and as you can see, I have some different sizes. So I'm going to call this size 100%. So this actual size that fits in the jig here makes this size. But you can make your pattern pieces larger and smaller. So if you order this from my website, you're going to get 5 different sizes. So here is the 100%, 80%, and 120%. So, and then here's 2 more sizes, upside down, 125% and 75%. So I'm going to show you quickly what those different sizes look like. So again, this is what I'm calling 100%, and this is 75%. This is 80%. I'll compare it to the 100%. This is the 120% compared to the 100%. And the 125% compared to the 100%. So you can make different sizes. Like I said, in the kit that I'm going to have on my website, you will get the 5 different pattern sizes. You will also get the jig. And I'm going to show you some really cool features and benefits of this jig. One is a little ridge in the center that allows you to perfectly place your pattern pieces. And then you're also going to get a plastic pattern piece. Mark is going to print for each order one of these and one of these. So if by chance you happen to lose your paper pattern piece, you can retrace using this. And then what I did was I just used my printer to make it larger and smaller. And all of those different sizes can be made using this jig. This is all I used to make all the stars that I've made so far. And this works perfectly. So I'm sure I have lots more that I forgot to say, but I'm sure I will hopefully, I hope that I remember to tell you everything as we start making the stars. So let's get busy. So here are the pattern pieces. If you order this on my website, you will get 5 different sizes. So here's the 100%, and then you get 120, 125%, and then the 75 and 80%. So I'm going to call the 100% kind of the standard size. That's this size right here. That's this size pattern piece is here. So I have already cut out all of these pattern pieces. They're all right here. But today we're just going to be making the standard size, the 100%. As you can see, this one has been used way more than the others, so I'm going to set these aside, and we are just going to use this 100%. And we're only going to make half of the star today, or it's not really half, it's the whole star, but if you add the other half, then you have a complete 3D star. So we're just going to be making 5 points today, so we need to copy this 10 times. So I'm going to make a red and blue star today. The stars that you saw in the intro, those are for my Christmas display. So I work on Christmas all year long. I'll be making many, many more stars. I have big display windows, and every Christmas we have what's called Hometown Christmas in Tomahawk, where we have about 60 windows down Main Street. They come to life with live mannequins. I bring my keyboard and I play music, and the windows are all just really beautiful. So it's something I work on all year long and I really enjoy. However, today, right now, I'm going to be making a blue and red star to go into one of my display windows that has red, white, and blue. So we just had Memorial Day. Now we have 4th of July coming up. So I've got this pretty red English muffle, and I thought I had English muffle blue, but I didn't. So we're going to use some blue water glass. So, and I am a fan of mixing textures. So we're going to be tracing 10 of these pattern pieces. 5 are going to be right side up and 5 are going to be upside down. So I'm doing the blue first, and so I'm going to trace 5 from the blue upside down. So that's what I'm going to do next. So 5 traced on the blue were upside down. So now I'm going to trace 5 from the red right side up. And I'm using a gold Pilot marker. I really like these because they do not come off until you grind it off, or if you use something like a paint thinner, that's going to take off this permanent marker. So it's really nice, especially with something like these pattern pieces. They have to be really accurate to fit together, the angles to fit together properly. And I do sell these on my website, again, diamondrockglassstudio.com. And it looks like I used about a 1/2 square foot of the blue and a 1/2 square foot of the red. So 1 square foot would, I think, be sufficient to make the one-sided 3D star. Okay, so I have my 5 red pieces and my 5 blue pieces. Next, I am going to grind these all, boil them all, and then I will be back and we will be ready for the assembly. So I have all the pattern pieces grinded and foiled, and so we're ready for the assembly now. So I've got everything I need for the assembly. I think my flux, my solder iron, my fan that I'll turn on once I'm done talking. It's just a little too loud. So this is super easy. I've got my jig here. I want the back side up. So I just always remember back up. So that's how I have this. So now I want to show you again how easy these fit in here, or how well they fit in here. They meet right up because, again, I'm going to show you hopefully closer and you can see this. There is a ridge right in the middle, right in the center. So it allows the glass to sit on it on that side, and then there's a little ledge that allows it to sit on that side. So you can see that it meets up perfectly. So you don't have one overlapping the other. Like if it didn't have the ledge, it would slide all the way down and this would be on top of it, and it's kind of tricky to get it to meet up perfectly. So this meets up perfectly, and you're going to be able to see it even better once I get this inside tacked together or soldered together. So I'll do that real quick here. Okay, so now that I have that inside seam done, I'm going to take it out, and I hope you can see what a great angle, a perfect angle it's created for the outside angle. So this is how I put this together. I do the inside seam and then the outside seam here to all. I'll do that to all 5, and then I'll continue tinning the entire pieces. So now I can easily, oh, and notice how I have this down like this, and then I have this situated so it's a flat surface. So this comes in handy to do this outside seam here. So I have, it's flat, I can easily do this outside seam. So now I have the inside and outside seam of each of the 5 points finished. So I started with the inside and finished with the outside. So now what I'm going to do is the tinning of the rest of the piece. So I am going to run some flux. You should wear a glove for this. Well, maybe I will put a glove on. Let's see, is there a glove handy? There is. Yeah, so you should wear a glove for this part. It does get hot. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to tin across all the sides. Wherever there's copper foil, I'm going to cover it with this thin layer of the solder. I have all 5 of my points. They are soldered and tinned. So my next step is to start arranging these into a star shape. And you can do that just flat. You can eyeball it. You will have a center hole, something that looks like that. So once you're happy with how you have your pieces arranged, you can start tacking them together. So I'm going to do that real carefully on the outside first while it's just on my Homasote board like this. And we can get this better later, but we're just trying to get it together enough to flip it over and get the larger seams are on the back side. So this is just the weaker of the 2 seams. This is the inside seam on the outside. But once you got those pretty good, now we're going to flip it and get the inside seams, which is really going to add strength. But what I have found is if I fill in that center right away, it strengthens it like instantly. So now this is a really important part of the process. These are called handy wedges. I use these for my spinners. I use these quite a bit when I'm trying to hold something into position. These don't melt. They are like spongy, but hard spongy. But you can wedge them, the handy wedges, right under your star so it's flat, and you can get that center So I'm just trying to get this flat so I don't have to hold it with my hands. So that's pretty flat. So I'm just going to get that inside a little bit, and it doesn't really take a lot of solder. You just want to kind of connect the 5 points better so it's a little more. So now you can tell when you lift it, it's holding everything together in the center. So now I want to use my handy wedges, and there's a couple of ways you can use the handy wedges. You can either go like this to get this seam, or what I like even better is like this to hold it like this, and I can get this seam. You can get it to go a little higher if you want. So it's level, so it's like flat. So it's a flat seam that you can get. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this seam, and then I'll get the other seam. So these handy wedges I do sell on my website. I did not make it a part of the kit, even though I do find it necessary. The reason I did not include it on my kit is because I talked about these handy wedges in my spinner kit, and I did mention that they come in handy for the spinner kit. So I know some of you already have these, so I didn't want to include it in the kit, but I do strongly recommend having the handy wedges to assemble your star. So once you have all the inside seams done, you can flip it back over. We're going to want to double check these inner seams, the smaller ones we did first. Make sure nothing bled through and that they look nice. I think they look good. So now I'm just going to touch up this center here a little bit. I'm just going to smooth it out, maybe add a little bit more. Just smooth it out. You don't really need to do anything too special. But that's all there is to it. So here's our 3D star. Now, if you want to, here's a star I had already finished. It was in my display, just spinning like this. If I wanted to attach 2 of these, this is how I would do it. Now, I would clean both stars. I would wash them all really well, get the flux off, clean them both, and then I would hold it like this, and actually see how you can hold each point together. There's a nice solder line. There's a nice solder line. You can just pull these together or hold them together like this, and they solder up really nicely. Just hold it together and solder all those solder seams. Being careful not to drip any solder on the inside. So you might want to practice a few stars before you, or maybe not, just go for it. Just go for it. It's not hard, it's not difficult, it takes a little time, but I am just going to put a hook on this star. I'm going to use 18 gauge wire and hang it and spin it in my display, which I'm going to show you at the very end. But I did want to point out, this is resin. It does not melt. And Mark, who's my brother, and he has a business called Game On 3D. It's you can see it on the inside here. Game On 3D. You can go to his Facebook page, go to his website. But he sells these exclusively through me. Benefit of being his big sister, I guess. Yeah, so this is resin. It does not melt. And Mark also mixed this with shatterproof resin. So it doesn't melt, it doesn't shatter, it's just a really good material. It's durable. I'm super happy with it. So is Mark. We've both been through testing, well, him with all of the printing and the right ratio of formula that he uses. So this is an excellent piece. You can drip solder on it. It does not melt. It will not. It's shatterproof. He's held it from 8 feet up and dropped them, and they've gone through shipping and They're very durable. So a couple of other things I wanted to talk about. Number one, I think I'll have these on my website. They're the little fairy lights. They have batteries in here. If you decide to put two stars, two halves together, what you can do is leave an opening. Like here, cut this one side on one of the points open, so this can hang out the side. So arrange the fairy lights in it. You can attach the fairy lights however you want, and then make sure that this is out, so if the battery, or when the battery goes dead, you can change the battery. So and then you can tuck that into, if you're putting it on your Christmas tree, to make that the bottom. So that'll be the bottom. And if you want to make this your Christmas tree topper, I'm going to get rid of this one. Say this is a full 3D star. You can use this, I don't know if I'm going to say this right, but this is round stock, just steel rods. You can get it at the hardware store. This is an 1/8 inch. This is a 3/16 inch. Depending on how big your star is, I think, yeah, I think the 1/8 inch would be just fine for this size, but you can solder it right to the center. To be real on the safe side, maybe use a little bit bigger. This thing is long and loud, so I'm whacking it all over the place, excuse me. But you can attach it right there, and just make sure you get enough solder so it's on there really good. I would, cut the steel rod then down a couple feet or so, and then just stick it into the crown top of the tree, down right in the center toward the trunk, and wire wrap it. And I know there's a lot of clever people watching that probably have, better ideas. I haven't been thinking about it for too long, but that was my first thought. Just put a steel rod, stick it in the tree, and wire wrap it around the trunk. Why not? And you could light it up with the fairy lights. Another thing I might have on my website, these are utility hooks I also get on Amazon, but they come in boxes of like 12. I might sell these individually. These hold up to 13 pounds, and if you want something that's really going to hold any of these are super strong, and I really like them. They're clear. So these are utility hooks that I'll probably add on my website. But the fairy lights and the utility lights probably won't be on my website until Thursday. And then this is the battery-powered rotating spinner. So it's, like I said, battery operated. It takes a D battery. I've got one in here. It just goes in like this. And then it has an on-off switch. There it is on. You can see it's rotating. I think this battery is almost dead, so it's going really slow. But these go pretty slow. You don't want it, turning too fast. So just a nice speed that they're at. So, and there's off. So those are on my website also. Let's see. The most important thing I have to say is a big thank you to my nephew, Serge. He is in charge of all of the quality control that comes out of the Gonzalski household and production area. He's 7 years old, and he's going to be here in about 3 weeks, and I'm hoping he's going to be in my next video. And he is brighter than all the stars in the sky. So love you, Serge, if you're watching. So I think that's all I have to talk about. The handy wedges, again, those are on my website. I think I've talked about everything. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to stained glass or need a refresher, please feel free to go back to my very first video. It's 55 minutes long, and it's how to make a sun catcher. And it goes over all the steps of stained glass. So from picking out your pattern to picking out your glass, how to cut, grind, foil, solder, and finally finish your piece. It's all found on that video. So thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.